Hello, I am David Thomas, and I am the principal clarinetist of the Columbus Symphony, and I've been in that spot since 1989. I'm here today to tell you a little bit about the clarinet embouchure and clarinet voicing. It can be a tricky instrument to get the right embouchure and voicing on. I have one student who came to me recently who sounded pretty good. He's a fairly advanced player, but he had terrible trouble articulating in the upper register, and there was a lot of grunting in the sound. A grunt is when there's like an undertone in the sound before the real sound comes out, and it happens especially in the upper clarion register and the altissimo. So I'm going to tell you 5 quick checkpoints to see if your embouchure needs some adjustments. Most people play single lip. That's where you have your bottom lip over the teeth and then top lip on the mouthpiece. So that's what I'm teaching as. The first thing and the most important thing is to find the correct focal point. And that is something that's easily tested. So you basically play an open G and then try to squeak out the overtone, the first overtone, which would be a high D, very flat one, but okay, so a real high D. So if you cannot do that, that means you're probably not taking enough mouthpiece in. It's hard to do, and you kind of have to bite to make the proper sound come up. So try that. Experiment taking a little bit more until you can squeak out a high D fairly easily. The second point is the angle of the clarinet. And that I recommend starting with at least angle of the clarinet coming too low, too high, right in the middle is usually about right for most people. And this is just hovering over the ends of my knees or where my knees are. So that's the second point you could consider, because if it's too close to your chin, you'll have pressure on the reed and it'll be difficult to articulate and there'll be problems. The third is the tongue position. Usually I like to think of which vowel I'm saying when I play. You can say ah or e or perhaps e. So if you think sort of a-e, that puts the tongue kind of in the middle of the mouth. And that's usually a pretty good spot to start working with the clarinet and seeing if that works. If the upper register still doesn't come out, you might want to raise the front a little bit, the front of the tongue, slightly more E than ah. So think of it as going from ah to E, I, and all the variations in the middle. Start with the middle and go up and down and see which one allows that G to pop out and allows your articulation, especially in the upper register, to not have too many grunts. The fourth thing is to relax your throat. It may not seem important, but if you have a tight throat, or if you're changing your throat for different registers, you're going to have trouble with flexibility. So again, these are all points that you may be able to play the clarinet without doing them correctly, but you probably have trouble and you'll eventually hit roadblocks. And the fifth point is a difficult one to describe, but it's the right amount of pressure on the reed. And I don't think of it as biting the reed, but I think of it as snugging the reed into my mouth. So there's just a little bit of push from the bottom lip onto the reed on that focal point. So these are 5 critical points that you can experiment around with. Too much pressure and you'll choke the reed, not enough pressure and it'll squeak more. So I hope this helps you a little bit. I'll now play an excerpt for you, and to give you a sense for what good voicing helps with. So this is the last solo in the Mussorgsky's Night on Bald Mountain, and it's kind of a lonely, soft clarinet solo that slurs from the middle E to a high E, very soft, and it has some soft, high articulation in it. So you'll hear all those things that I have to be very careful where my tongue is, what the pressure is, where the focal point is, and have all that in the right spot. So Here's Night on Bald Mountain by Mussorgsky. Thanks for listening, and I hope this little tutorial helped you with your clarinet embouchure.